In this video, I'm going to be sharing one of my favorite projects in all of crypto. One that is really tiny today, but I believe in the future has the potential to grow much bigger. This is a project that's often overlooked, and I think that's because most people don't understand what the project actually is and how big of a market it's going after. And before we dive in, keep in mind this is just my personal thoughts about a project that I've bought and I'm bullish on. My channel is like a giant Pinterest board of my thoughts and the things I'm investing into. This isn't, however, investment advice, and you should always do your own research. The project that I'm talking about is called CowDAO, and I promise there's a lot more than first meets the eye. The name Cow is just an acronym for something called a coincidence of wants, which I'll talk about what that is a little bit later in the video. There are 4 major projects in the CowDAO ecosystem. Most people are probably at this point familiar with CowSwap. It has risen out of nowhere to become one of the largest and most popular decentralized exchanges in all of crypto, processing over $44 billion in volume, and currently with the #1 retention rate among all major dexes, meaning users who use CowSwap are more likely to stick with CowSwap and keep using it versus using it once and going back to using what they were using before. And CowSwap is simply the first user interface built on top of what's called the Cow protocol. Cow protocol is a powerful open source and permissionless DEX aggregation protocol that anyone can integrate for a variety of DeFi purposes. It's basically the same App Store model concept that I've talked about in past videos. It's a protocol for anyone to build their own decentralized exchange using the network of solvers and other various infrastructure that CowDAO's already built out. The idea being that you get hundreds of different teams trying to build the best decentralized exchange experience and brand without having to worry about the underlying tech and building out their own network of solvers. If you aren't aware, Cow protocol is a meta DEX aggregator protocol. Basically, it's a protocol that fixes liquidity fragmentation by trading across all DEXs and all DEX aggregators, while also protecting users from something called MEV attacks. The end result for the user is that they get the absolute best trade possible on chain. And to really understand how this works, you need to understand first how a normal DEX works. With a normal DEX, it's just going to look at its own liquidity sources, give you the best trade possible within its library of liquidity, and then execute that exact trade. With Cow protocol, instead of making a normal trade, a user signs what's called an intent. Basically, you're saying to the market that you want to make a trade, and you're willing to do it at no higher than a specific cost. And this might sound like the same thing, but it's actually much different. When it comes to a normal DEX transaction, imagine you wanted to buy a used Xbox. You go to a single website where they list the exact price of that Xbox based off the inventory that they personally have in stock. If you decide to buy it, you're going to pay that exact price, you're going to click buy, and it's going to be a done deal. Intent-based trading, like what Cow protocol uses, would be like if instead you went to a website and posted that you wanted a used Xbox and how much you were willing to pay for that used Xbox. Then the website submits your order to a group of professional solvers that are all competing to get you the best price physically possible for that Xbox. They might look across garage sales, they might look across Facebook Marketplace, they might look at a mix of their own inventory and third-party sellers. It doesn't really matter where they're looking. The point is it's a competition between these solvers, and they're working as hard as they can to find you that best price possible among the various places that they might look. And for you, you don't care where and how they find this Xbox. You really just want the cheapest price possible. You don't care if the Xbox comes from Facebook Marketplace or if it comes from Amazon. Again, you just want the cheapest price possible. From there, the optimal solution is selected by the protocol, and you're given the absolute cheapest price possible for a used Xbox. And all this happens within the span of 30 to 60 seconds. That's basically how intent-based trading for Cow protocol works. After you submit your intent to buy a token at a certain price, this gets submitted to a network of solvers who take in your transaction deals and add them to a batch auction. The batch auction is made up of a ton of different trades. So everyone that's like submitting trades at that time period all get thrown into this big batch auction. And the solvers look at this batch auction as a whole and try to find the best way physically possible to settle all these trades. To make the trade, they look across every DEX aggregator. They even look for what's called a coincidence of wants, or basically 2 users within a batch trying to do the opposite side of the same trade. Again, this is where Cow protocol gets its name. The solvers are motivated and rewarded based on who can find the best execution for that trade. It's a competition, and they take into account gas fees, slippage, and everything else. Then after the protocol identifies the best possible trade from among these solvers, that trade is executed and the user gets the best deal possible for exchanging these tokens. From a user standpoint, it looks like basically any other DEX transaction. You approve a transaction, you wait 30 to 60 seconds, and then you get your tokens. Usually with a really cool banner that shows you the surplus you were able to make by using CowSwap to make that trade. Personally, I've been able to make a surplus of over $17,000 by using CowSwap. That's $17,000 that I have today that I wouldn't have had I used any other DEX. Now, all of this might sound familiar if you know anything about Uniswap v4 or Uniswap X. That's because Uniswap's vision for its future is basically to add all these same features into its own protocol. Their vision is basically an exact copy of what Cow Protocol's already built. Cow Protocol pioneered intent-based trading, hooks, and all the fancy new features Uniswap is adding in. And Cow Protocol has already built these things and has them fully functional and operational. That to me says a lot about the skills and competency of the Cow Protocol team, if even Uniswap is lagging behind in terms of innovation. Here's the kicker though. Cow is currently sitting at just $54 million in market cap, while Uniswap sits at over $4.7 billion in market cap. So you have this tiny protocol that's outpacing on the innovation front this much bigger protocol. To me, this seems like potentially a massive opportunity. And keep in mind, so far I've only talked about Cow Protocol and CowSwap. CowDAO has two other insane products, and that's CowAMM and MEV Blocker. And I'm going to be diving into both of those, plus why I believe most people vastly misunderstand what CowDAO actually is, and why in the future I believe Cow Protocol could be processing tens of trillions of dollars of value. I know that sounds insane, but I have a good reason for why I believe that. And I'm going to get to all of that in just a second, but really quick. The Obsidian Council is my private research community where I share monthly research, my entire portfolio updated monthly with the exact allocation I bought and a ton more. We've had projects like Pendle, which went up over 1,500%. Projects like Solana, which is up over 740%. Akash, which is up over 1,000%. And recently Goon, which went up over 179,000%. Although, as a quick disclaimer on that last one, 179,000% is insane. We got really lucky with that one. That's far from normal and unlikely to repeat or happen again. We also have the airdrop guide, which some members made over $26,000 last year from airdrops alone, covering their membership for literally decades. I've personally made well over 100K between this year and last, and I share everything I'm doing personally with airdrops with the community via the monthly airdrop guide. And it is worth noting that airdrops have slowed down recently, and I'm not 100% sure where they'll go from here. I'm watching that space really close, and of course, I'm going to end up going wherever the opportunity is. The Obsidian Council is currently closed, but if you want to join, there's a link in the description of this video. CowAMM is the latest product release from CowDAO, and it's set to revolutionize the AMM space in the same way their intent-based architecture has revolutionized trading. And I'll make this pretty brief. CowAMM is basically trying to improve the way that liquidity works for DEXs. Long story short, it basically protects liquidity providers from this pesky little thing called LVR, or loss versus rebalancing. Today, hundreds of millions of dollars of liquidity is stolen by arbitrageurs every single year. A lot of people know that in crypto, MEV sandwich attacks and front running are a huge source of losses. But few know that LVR is actually a bigger source of losses than sandwich attacks and front running combined. CowAMM eliminates LVR using batch auctions. This allows the surplus to be captured and actually given back to the liquidity providers, making it even more profitable to provide liquidity. Basically, it's really awesome, and it means that CowAMM should attract a ton of liquidity because people should be making more money using CowAMM, and it further expands the CowDAO ecosystem. Lastly, CowDAO has MEV Blocker. It's basically an RPC that protects users from MEV attacks. Users can manually enable CowDAO's MEV Blocker, or a lot of wallets actually have it enabled by default. Today, MEV Blocker has over 1.6 million users and has protected over $118 billion in volume. So those are the four products CowDAO has. But I think the most important thing is to understand really how big of a vision CowDAO has in the market that they're trying to capture. Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, says that he believes everything will be tokenized in the future. Stocks, real estate, literally everything you can imagine tokenized on the blockchain. And that adds up to potentially around $700 trillion worth of assets. And that value, if all tokenized, will need to be exchanged through on-chain marketplaces. CowDAO hopes that Cow Protocol will be a part of the core infrastructure where this value is exchanged. And if that were to happen, that would mean potentially quadrillions of dollars worth of value being transferred using Cow Protocol. And obviously that's like a long shot, Hail Mary, perfect outcome scenario. But even in an outcome where it was just a fraction of that, I would imagine that would mean the Cow token going significantly higher from here. Keep in mind, this is not me saying this is what will happen. This is me saying this is what CowDAO hopes to achieve. Today, CowDAO's products are on Ethereum and Arbitrum, but they have plans to expand to every single major chain. A process that takes some time because of the way that solver networks work. Today, CowDAO's Cow token isn't listed on any major exchanges and sits at just $54 million in market cap. I believe we'll continue to see it go higher as CowDAO expands and as we see it expand to more and more chains. I also think we'll see it go higher when it's listed on major exchanges like Coinbase and Binance, which tend to push tokens a lot higher. Uniswap at its peak last cycle hit a market cap of around $22 billion. If Cow Protocol were to reach that same height, that would be a 407x from here, turning every $100 invested into over $40,000. Keep in mind, again, I'm not saying that Cow is going to go to $22 billion. I'm just using this as a gauge from my personal research to understand maybe potentially how, in a perfect scenario, how high Cow could potentially go. And in my mind, Uniswap would be like a reasonable analog to give me an idea of where Cow could go. But of course, in crypto, nothing is guaranteed, and Cow could also decline in price and go lower from here. That's always a possible outcome when investing in literally anything. Now, there's something to take note of when it comes to Cow token, and that's that the fully diluted value sits at around $90 million currently, meaning not all the tokens are currently in circulation, and those tokens currently would be sitting in CowDAO's treasury. Given CowDAO has decent revenues today, I don't see the majority of these tokens hitting the market anytime soon. I would imagine they would hit the market slowly over a long period of time, so it's not something I'm really worried about, specifically this cycle, but it is worth noting that those tokens do exist. My counter argument against CowDAO would be that it's basically like Snapchat. And, Uniswap is going to basically take all these same features, implement them into their own protocol, and end up dominating in the same way that Instagram kind of stole stories from Snapchat and, ended up running with it. On the other hand, CowDAO could be something more like TikTok. Maybe others will try to copy what they're doing, but the original team will see the overwhelming majority of the success. Who knows? My personal belief is that CowDAO is going to continue to do well from here. That's why I've personally invested into it. I also just believe as a whole, decentralized exchanges and like the pie as a whole is going to continue to expand and grow, and there's just a lot of room for growth in this market in general. If you want to go more in depth with CowDAO, I actually did a pod with their team where we go into a lot of the details about what CowDAO is, what they've built, what they're working on. Also, make sure to sign up for my free weekly crypto newsletter. It's mostly just all my content I put out each week in an easy email so you don't miss it, but occasionally I do drop in some other useful, cool stuff in there. If this video is helpful, make sure to hit that like button. If you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comment section down below. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the little bell next to it to be notified each time I release a new video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.